Whoa, felt like I was gonna sneeze there for a second. What's up? Um, I've had this idea for a video for a little while, and I really like it, so I'm finally gonna get around to making it. I've made videos, like I mostly make videos about, music, things related to music, but I've had a couple videos in the past that were talking about art, just like in general. And I think that's like, I think it's a really cool and interesting thing to talk about. And it makes sense too for me. I mean, really, if you think about it, because music is, just another art form. As you could probably make an argument for anything being, but which is, in my opinion, the beautiful thing about art. But what I wanted to talk about pertaining to art was the 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 art ignorant people who when they go to like a modern or contemporary art museum where there's lots of really abstract things. Like I made that one video talking about the whole newspaper thing where it's just a stack of newspapers on the ground and if that's really art or not and stuff. um, at the Walker Art Museum in Minneapolis, I think. There's lots of that there. That museum's actually kind of famous for that, for having like really, really weird, like, is that art, kind of stuff. Um, but yeah, what I wanted to talk about was when the argument that people say or people have when they see stuff like that and they go, I could do that. That yeah, just let that sink in for a bit. I could do that, why is that worth so much money? I could do that. Bear with bear with me here. There's lots of thoughts going on here, and the only scripting I did was kind of go over them in my head a little bit, like a few seconds ago before I made this video. But there's a few things wrongs with that. Few things wrong with that statement. Number one, the big one. I think there's a lot of evidence that supports my assertion that I'm about to say, that art is at least mostly about the idea behind what you're doing. It's never about the difficulty of your technique, like how difficult what you did was. And when it is about the technique, it's about how the technique was used in expressing that idea, the idea that you're trying to like convey. And when I say it's about, like art's about, like I just mean like getting something out of art, like enjoying art. It's not about like, or at least it shouldn't be about like how difficult what the person did was. It should just be about how good the idea is and how well the idea is expressed. It's just like the same thing with music. I mean, you can't judge the quality of music by how difficult it is to play, because some of the best melodies ever are, I know that's subjective, but some of the, songs and melodies and stuff that are commonly regarded as, some of the best are often actually very, very simple. I mean, one good example is In the Aeroplane Over the Sea by Neutral Milk Hotel. That whole album is actually really basic chord progressions, like the whole time. I mean, there's maybe like 10 chords on the whole album, and it's like one of the best things I've ever heard, and a lot of people agree with me on that one, so... Yeah, so when people say, I could do that, they're saying, like... Well, for one, they're saying that it somehow lessens the art's effect. Like if they did that, like, well, yeah, I mean, you do have the ability to do that. I mean, and if you did, I wouldn't be any less appreciative of it than I am now. It's like I could do that. Cool, I'd love it if you could do that. So that's one point. But back to the other point I was saying though. Yes, you have the ability to do it. You have the capability, you have, the ability to take a paintbrush and paint a black circle in the middle of a giant white canvas. But, did you? Did you think of that? No, you didn't. Back to what I was saying about art being about the idea more than the technique. and only about the technique when it's used, and when we're talking about how well it's used to express the idea. Like, it doesn't matter if you could do it because you didn't do it. That's the whole thing. That's what separates, just like, in my opinion, that's the definition of art. Like, coming up with that on yourself, by yourself, rather than just, like, oh my god, I have such a good thought here, but I'm having trouble trying to vocalize it. I don't know, like, say I just put this gumball machine, like, and say this whole desk was clear, right? Like, all this shit was gone, and I just put this gumball machine right in the center of the desk, and just, called it, just poured a bunch of metaphor on it, and, like, showed it to somebody who, like, judges art or something, and told them that this was my piece, this is what I'm doing. This gumball machine sitting on this desk. By definition, I mean, really, like, that could be art. I mean, it is, because I was thinking of it as art. I was thinking of this desk with a gumball machine sitting on it representing ideas. All, like, really ideas that I, probably thought were really good, which is why I'm showing it to somebody and trying to get it in a museum or something. That's that, as opposed to someone just going like, oh hey, I put this gumball on the machine on the desk, and now I'm calling it art. Look at me, like just doing it to show that they can. That's not art. Art is not like a tangible thing. I mean, it's represented by tangible things, but art is really just the idea of having an idea that you want to express. There's hey, look, I can do this. And then there's, hey, look at all of this stuff that this represents. You know what I mean? So that's why I don't know, when people say I could do that, it just pisses me out, because it's like, yeah, well, you didn't. And that's what separates, you from, I don't know the names of the actual names of any, artists who do stuff where people say I could do that a lot. But that's what I'm saying. That's what separates you from them. You don't come up with those ideas. You're not creative enough to think of those things. You're not creative enough to find a way to make a broken shovel hanging from a ceiling represent something. And I don't mean to be condescending when I say that. I'm just saying that a lot of people aren't, and that they just say, "Oh, I don't get it," or And oh, another good thing, another thing to say about the whole idea of the idea being more important than the technique. Okay, say you wanted to get across with your painting a feeling of like cold, lonely isolation, right? And you have, on one end, you have a painting, like a really, really detailed, like really, like, elaborate, lavish, like Renaissance style painting of like a guy like sitting, like, I don't know, like in the middle of a I don't know, like in the middle of like a Dali-esque kind of like desert thing. Maybe not Renaissance style, but you know what I mean, like really like detailed, really, really meticulous kind of style painting of a guy just like sitting there, and then you have the whole, the just sky enveloping him and all that, and you can just tell that he's isolated and lonely and stuff. And then on the other side you have a painting of just a big white square with a black dot or like a black circle in the center. One might easily think that the one with the black dot in the center gets across the feeling of isolation better than the other one, even though the other one like took much more, talent and skill to draw or to paint. So it's art is the idea, It's like someone could be much more moved by that painting than the other one. So it's like saying I could do that is just stupid, because that doesn't matter, you know? I'm kind of talking in circles now, but it's about the idea. That's my point. And you should be able to do anything that you want to get across any idea that you want without anyone having to say, oh, well, I could do that. It's like, well, I thought of doing that. You didn't. It's not... The fact... Any sort of... Like, even if you used a difficult technique, that doesn't give your artwork any more merit, you know? Like, I mean, I don't think so. I mean, like, the Mona Lisa isn't, like, a really amazing painting because it's so, like, you know, perfect, and, like, the shading and all that stuff. It's a great painting just because its aesthetic is so consistent and so... I don't know, and so, like, the whole theme of the painting is just so beautifully mysterious and stuff. I mean, for me, it has nothing to do with how difficult it was. I mean, what gives your idea merit is the idea, you know? Not how difficult what you're doing is. I mean, that's art. That's what art is. That's what art's always been. That's... Yeah, it's probably one of the most, the broadest, vaguest terms out there, you know, and yeah, I could do that. Shut the fuck up. Thanks for watching.